the Knights Templar first formed to preserve teachings of Jesus that had been suppressed by the church. And that this is where, the secret mystery schools originally began, and then they just divided off until there were so many of them. And I don't know. Tell me what you know about this.
The mystery schools, they didn't begin with the Knights Templar. It was a consolidation maybe in the days of the Knights Templars. But the mysteries had been going on in the Middle East for thousands of years. And the Knights Templars eventually learned it from a people, they were Egyptian priesthood really, called the Sassanis.
The what?
Sassani.
Sassani?
Yeah, one of the derivations of the same name is Sassoon, like Vidal Sassoon.
Yes.
And it's basically the same family tree, by the way. And these people were the grand masters of a sort of form of Christianity. And they had been, prior to even the Catholic Church being created. And the Sassanis run the whole of the Middle East. They created advisors to all nations, and these advisors in reality run the nations. They also were given the name of assassins, because anybody who didn't go along with their wishes were eventually assassinated. And so you find in the ancient Middle East, and perhaps right up to the present day, the people, just like the presidents and prime ministers we know, are front men, but the advisors behind them are the real power. Mm-hmm. And this is well documented, by the way, in general history books concerning this.
When we talk about the mystery schools, what does that mean exactly, the mysteries?
The mystery schools...
Or the mysteries?
Yeah, the mysteries, or the mysteries of the ages, is really what they're called. As I say, it's basically for the technique of government. It's the technique of government and all the forms and necessary agencies you need, from the military to the priesthoods to the civil service, etc.
In other words, controlling the people.
Controlling.
By fear and guilt and
fear is the prime
doctrine.
one. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Well, what about, do you think that this was part of what Jesus was doing?
Jesus was definitely exposing it. He was taking the mysteries straight to the people, but he was only feeding them enough that they could take at the time, knowing full well that they'd been brought up just like we are today with a given reality. And when you come along and tell them, you're not really quite sane, you think you are, but you're not, because your reality isn't truth at all. So you can only feed them small doses. That's why you said the ones who had eyes to see, meaning the ones who had the ability to see that something was wrong, mm-hmm. and the ones who had ears to hear, meaning those who could understand what he was saying. The people after the vast meetings he had would come to him, and then he would fill them in on what he really meant. And in John, you do get a glimpse of that when he said to the people he spoke in parables, but amongst his followers in private he told us many secrets, you see.
As they could bear.
Yeah.
Because there is, he made a statement at one point, there is much more that I have to tell you, but you could not bear it now.
That's correct, yeah. And he was given literally the secrets, you see. People worship what they're given. If it's fire, they don't realize that fire basically means knowledge. So the people in the peasantry, with the help of the priesthoods, literally worshipped fire at one of the temples, for instance, you see. Or they could be worshipping air, pneuma, spirit. Mm-hmm. It's all the same thing. And spirit means primordial knowing, pre-existent knowing. And those who are ultra elite and very bright, in other words, and who had come to most of the answer by themselves, therefore had primordial knowing, and they would then be brought into the mystery schools and given more of the inner secrets, you see.
Is that what Freemasonry and all the mystery schools are about today?
Yeah, and much higher levels, of course, but your average Freemason today hasn't got a clue what he's even involved in.
I'm not talking about the average ones.
Yeah,
I'm talking
top.
about 33rd degree and up.
And up for sure, yeah. Then, of course, that they're brought into. They're given access to parchments which are hundreds and some of them even thousands